www.blackwoodfirenetwork.com.
Welcome to the Calmie African Diary Show, only on Blackwood Fire Network. Yes, a very good morning to the Blackwood Fire family. I am your host, Calmie, and definitely this is the Calmie African Diary Show, only on Blackwood Fire Network. Of course, I had missed to interact with the family. And so far, so good. I see on the live chat, before I even got to introduce the show, I see at the God King Doran has joined us here on the Calmie African Diary Show. And he has, of course, gone ahead to say peace at Queen Calmie. Very, of course, much peace to you at the God King Doran. And thank you so much to join me here on the Calmie African Diary Show. And of course, it is on a Tuesday, and definitely here on Black Hot Fire Network, we get, to talk about different topics, happening around Africa, because this is that on a daily basis, you cannot miss something good or something negative, of course, happening in the lives of individuals. But of course, we're here to give you a roundup of that. But before we get to, of course, introduce the main topic, let me start with this great Swahili saying. Rather, I believe you have been, of course, keen students on your Swahili lessons that you're being taken through by Spikes. And I'll start by this, of course, Swahili saying. It says, afya ni bora kuliko mali. Your Swahili teacher will maybe, of course, expound more on that. It's afya ni bora kuliko mali. Just to translate it more in English, it says health is better than wealth. And I mean, how many people out here, they have a vast wealth, but they keep on, spending most of the time, seeking medication from one doctor to another. I'm just not out here encouraging individuals, to be lazy, to be poor, and so on. No, but they say, it reaches a point whereby you cannot be risking too much, when it comes to your life. And that was a Swahili saying. It says, afya ni bora kuliko mali. And also another great Swahili saying, it goes like this: chema chajiuza, kibaya chajitembeza. Let me repeat that: chema chajiuza, kibaya chajitembeza. Just to elaborate more on that in English, is that a good thing sells itself, while a bad thing advertises itself. That is definitely true. We've all seen that even on media or different products, that you definitely have used the product in your home states, and you're like, I'm definitely never going to get this again in the stores. But you see that, of course, publicity is publicity, and the advertisement is advertisement. It's all about getting to attract more customers and so on. But that is also a great Swahili saying that says, chema chajiuza, kibaya chajitembeza. And also, to elaborate more, it seems like the Swahili language wants to be spoken in different African countries. And I love that. For a fact, we need to come up, with our own language that we get to understand each other. Not necessarily that we as Africans have to adapt the languages of our own colonizers, as it is the fact you find that in many African countries we have individuals, of course, as speaking French, speaking English as their national language. Well, apart from Rwanda, of course, I can say Rwanda in Africa is one of the African countries that has really tried, to speak its native language, that is Kenya, Rwanda. But right now, the good news is that the government of Tanzania, that is, and of course, the no-nonsense president himself, that is that President Magufuli has, of course, liaised with some schools, in South Africa. And right now, as we are talking, we have like 90 schools in South Africa. They have now started enrolling the use of Swahili language into their schools. And of course, we're yet to see the progress of that, because I wouldn't mind sometime, going to South Africa and getting to interact with individuals in Swahili. Because right now, there is just a lot of, African nations that have got to realize that English and Kiswahili are just, spoken out there largely. But I can say that languages like, Swahili, they need to be highly spoken, because we are aware that Swahili was introduced, it all originated from different African countries, the likes of Zanzibar and so on. But anyway, just away from all that briefing regarding the Swahili language, let me also take a look at who has joined me here on the Calmie African Diary Show. And I see at Christine Williams has also joined me here on, of course, a Black Hot Fire Network. Grand Rising at Calmie, of course, much grand rising to you too at Christine Williams. I do believe that you have started your day on rather a very, of course, beautiful note. And here at Black Hot Fire Network, it's all about interacting here on the Calmie African Diary Show. And I see at Haki Sankofa went ahead to say, Mzuri sana. Wow. That is habari za asubuhi. Now I know that your Swahili teacher is really, of course, doing something great. And I see at the God King Dorel has gone ahead to say that you can have all the money in the world, but if you're sick and the doctor can't do anything for you, lights out. Absolutely, because they say, when I talked about that saying, or rather in Swahili methali, as we have to say it, is that you find that a lot of people out here will even go at extents, to they don't care whether they're sick or not sick, but all they want is money at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, they get subjecting themselves to extreme temperatures, to extreme environments that will rather affect themselves. So at times, as much as we want to chase papers, as much as we want to live the luxurious life, provide for family and so on, at times you need to consider your health too. And all right, at Elias Mani has also joined us here. And let me see, he said, good morning, Calmie. Okay, thank you for that at Elias Mani. Welcome to, of course, the Calmie African Diary Show. And away from all that pleasantries, of course, I do get to appreciate everyone who has joined me on the live chat here today. I just do have a lot of stories that I'd like to share with you today. First of all, how would you like that, that your future, that is your generation, your kids, let me start with your kids, the grandkids to your kids, and generation to generation to come, that they'll never be poor? Well, I think for many of us, we think that it is impossible, but it is never impossible if you happen to come from the Saudi Aramco family in Saudi Arabia. Let me tell you something. For once, I just sat down and then I'm like, wow, this is some great investment. Of course, owning large companies in Africa, from time to time, you have to be in scandals and so on. And for the Saudi Aramco, of course, family, they have managed to stay on the limelight irrespective of the scandal, because we know that all this, of course, a big organization, there has to be something going down. Of course, it is alleged, not my saying, but it is alleged that something has to go down. So if you are a member of the Saudi Aramco family, remember, this is the family that gets to own the national oil in Saudi Arabia. Wow. This is the royal family. It gets, to own, of course, the national oil in Saudi Arabia. And it is, of course, rumored that 90% of the workers in that organization happen to be family members. So there's no way you're going to screw over that company. It just takes about a lot of dedication, a lot of trust, and so on. That is what you get when you happen to, of course, work in Saudi Aramco, of course, company in Saudi Arabia. And also, take a look at this: the net worth of that oil company. It is $2 trillion. It is on a Tuesday. I don't wish to stress no more, but I've just said that for the Saudi Aramco families, they get to earn, of course, $2 trillion. It is crazy. And of course, we know that, like I've just told you, like, all these rich families, all these royal families, there is, of course, some allegation regarding them and so on. And of course, there has to be some truth in that at some point. But if you happen, if you want to be that rich, you want to be that more of a mafia in Africa, then I think you need to take a look at Saudi Aramco. And I'm seeing that Ilyas Money, he's gone ahead to say that Saudi have welfare checks. They really don't have much since US have bases there. Okay, that is according to you. You can't say that, but of course, there's some truth to that, in that we have a lot of Western, of course, military bases surrounding, Africa from time to time. But then again, it's just all about how things are going to be run, because I believe they have to come out, to a conclusion together. Away from that, let us venture into the story of the day. Of course, today is all about, I'm taking you all the way to Nigeria. And what is really good about Nigeria? Well, remember last week we talked about a certain tribes in Nigeria that get to worship the likes of course, pythons, certain places whereby if you get to kill a python, then you are definitely going to earn yourself some time in jail, or you are, of course, definitely going to be either stoned by the people and so on, because you've harmed their god. Well, happens that there is a lot of economic activities that are being hustled by the Nigerian people. Not only hustled, these are just part of the things that have been brought in the limelight, because we don't know that in some part of the world, that in some part of the African world, that some people are really getting into dangerous business on a daily basis, to get to put food on the table. So I was just passing by and I'm like, wow, hyenas. From growing up, we used to know that hyenas are dirty animals, greedy animals. They get, of course, to harm human beings. From time to time here in Kenya, actually, some communities that get to reside near the of course, game parks and all these sanctuaries and so on, they happen, of course, to give stories of how hyenas have been attacking their animals, attacking human beings. But that is not the case. And my question here today is, how hard is the African economy that man has to risk their life to go into the wildlife and get to capture this? Because for them, they go to the wildlife. To the wildlife, of course, they believe that they go to the wildlife believing that the only thing protecting them is juju. And of course, from time to time, we get to see our Nigerian brothers that, like, they get to love, they get to appreciate, and they get to respect and really believe in their juju. Juju is just magic. That is some potions given to them by their own herbalists and so on. And these men, they go out there in the jungle. So of course, before they get to go to the jungle, they get to, of course, bathe in the juju. That is some of the medicine that they have been given by the, of course, herbalists and so on in Nigeria. They bathe into that. They drink some of the potion. They apply some of the potions on their body. And when they're going hunting, there is a way that they get to come up with certain, chantings, and this will lure the animals. And I'm like, magic. Magic? Can I call it magic? Let me just say that in the traditional African society, there are some norms. There are some norms and beliefs that we cannot do away with them. And that is just to bring you about with the story in Nigeria about the hyena men, how they get to struggle to put food on the table. Because I'm like, this is not an activity like the government can come in and support and so on. No, this is an activity that individuals in Nigeria have, of course, put their lives in danger, because they have seen of how dangerous, of how crazy it is, to survive in the Nigerian economy. And as much as I want to criticize this act, because you may never know, they say that taming takes place, that is from 1 month to 2 months. This is an animal from the wild. Its hygiene is not known of. Of course, it's crazy, it's definitely dirty. You are risking your life, you're risking your surrounding, but they are taking that time as a way of earning livelihood. I get fascinated. Fascinated. Sorry, I get fascinated so much about this story, because this is a heartbreaking story. Because I cannot believe that in Africa, some people get to a certain extent going to out there to hunt wildlife as a way of course, getting to put food on the table. And they say that if you want to be in the hyena men, of course, group, you have to have at least, of course, work with 3 hyenas, 4 baboons, and 2 snake pythons. All this they get to abduct with the charms of juju. So that will explain to you that how rich and strong African juju is. Let me just get to share with you, of course, a brief of that story before we get to continue with the show. Because I'm just like, wow, this is really happening here in Africa, in Nigeria. There is magic. So let nobody tell you that African portions and so on is a myth. I saw this story and I'm like, it is definitely true. And but it is of concern, because the Nigerian government, if it wants to, help the youths in Nigeria, to survive, to put food on the table, they need to come up with proper measures that will help them not to be hurt in the process. Let me just get to share with you the story of the same, because these men will stop at nothing but to get and put food on the table. And let's take a look at, of course, the journey of how hectic this is. Of how hectic this really is, of course, in Nigeria, because this is something that is unheard of. Because we have been trained as man. We have been trained, of course, to hate certain animals, and this is due to some different folk stories that we get to read from childhood stories. Let me get to share that with you. And I see at Ilyas Money, before I continue, said that juju is real if you tame hyena. It definitely is at Ilyas Money. I got to realize that they get to use that juju when they go, to hunt these wild animals. And we all know it is not easy to lure a wild animal to come and stay with you. It is not easy to even pet that animal, to get to interact and survive with other animals. Let's see the craziness in Nigerian streets. And of course, this is just something I couldn't type, because as part not like telling youths out there to go and try this activity, because for once it is a very dangerous activity. Let me get to share with you that story here on Black Fire Network.
Your business idea needs a website? So go to Wix.com. I know what you're thinking.
The Wild West of Africa, home to one of the world's most extraordinary street gangs, a travelling circus that use an intoxicating blend of voodoo and dangerous animals to make a living.
Not everyone can do this. It's magic.
For the first time, this bizarre urban tribe has given access to film, revealing a way of life that is both fascinating and shocking.
My specialty is baboons. I train them in such a way that when you look at them, you think they are humans.
We dig beneath the surface of this wild world that appears dangerously out of control and explore the myths that surround these enigmatic people and their troop of baboons, snakes, and hyenas. Behind this spectacle, we discover a close-knit family that have a unique and controversial relationship with their animals, steeped in magic and tradition.
This is what we inherit from our forefathers. Our children here are going to inherit the same traditions.
But who are these people? And how do they live so close to such dangerous animals?
Even when the animals hold us or bite us, it doesn't hurt.
Why are these shocking rituals allowed to continue? And what do they tell us about human-animal relations in 21st century Africa? Welcome to the world of the hyena men. Nigeria, a West African country, tarnished with a violent history of military dictatorships, corruption and fraud. It's Africa's most densely populated country, and over half of its 140 million people live in abject poverty. Our journey begins in the clogged heart of Lagos, Nigeria's most infamous city. Traffic gridlocks the streets, and 2 out of 3 people live in slums. It's in the thick of Lagos that we're hoping to meet the hyena men. Last thing we heard from our local contacts is that they are living at the back of this market. But we've been warned, they're constantly on the move and notoriously difficult to find.
I can say you are welcome because you come here in order to visit us.
We arrived to find the gang have made a temporary home in the squalor of this rock wisdom. Living with the hyena men are the animals they've caught from the wild and brought to the city to perform in their street circus. Along with hyenas tied to the ground with heavy chains, gang members charm sackfuls of venomous and constricting snakes. We also discover a troop of a dozen or so baboons. Conditions are bad for the animal, but they're equally bad for the people that live here. Virtually no one has access to drinking water. We learn the hyena men are preparing to take their show out onto the streets of a zone in Lagos called Mile 12, and have been told by Barrow, the senior hyena handler, to be wary of the area boys, notorious Lagos street gangs who protect their turf, acting as vigilantes and using violence to extort money.
Applying for a job? Create a perfect resume at resume.io with our professional.
That's why we go around in groups. My specialty is the baboons. Train them in such a way that when you look at them, you think they're people.
Abdullahi Muhammad regularly performs on the streets and appears to have a genuine affection for his animals.
It understands how to entertain. That's why I call it Amita. It has the brain to entertain. There's an Indian actor called Amita. Its attitude is like that of the Indian actor. I like my job because that's what I grew up with. When I grew up, my parents, grandparents, and brothers were doing the same thing. So you know I can't leave what my people do. I've earned a living from this, got married from this, I've made a home from this. All that I have has come from this.
At least 70 million people, half Nigeria's population, live in abject poverty and have no access to clean water, despite the fact that historically the government and military have extorted billions of dollars from the rich supplies of the country's oil. Ahaze has already. For hundreds of years, these men's forefathers have come into the wilds to hunt for bushmeat to eat or to catch animals for performing. In the West, these people's way of life is universally condemned. But in Nigeria, when you live hand to mouth and have to hunt to survive.
Welcome back to the Calmie African Diary Show. Of course, that is a crazy story, and I just have a lot of questions to the Blackwood Fire family. Do you think that the government should really, let individuals out there to go and hunt these animals? Sorry about that. And also, do you think that, of course, the lives of these animals are being affected? Do you think that they are being mistreated? Of course, by the people. That is part of the question that I do have for you. It is crazy how in Nigeria that life can get so tough to the point of individuals really getting to risk their life and go to the village and getting, of course, to hunt these animals. It is, of course, super crazy. And let me just take a look at what you have to say here. It's crazy, and I'm just wondering, it is an economic activity for these individuals, because take a look at this. Some of them, they have been inheriting this trend from their forefathers, and it is like a tradition being passed on from time to time. But according to me, I don't know according to you, but you're definitely allowed to give me your view regarding that. Do you think that these animals, they are denied of their rights? Do you think that these animals are being mistreated by these people? Because telling an animal to come to coexist with another animal, for example, a hyena is highly trained, to get to play with other animals, get to do other activities with other animals. But at the same time, that hyena is not allowed to hurt people. Whenever it gets to hurt individuals, then it will definitely earn some discipline. That is the craziness that is there in Nigeria. And I believe there's just a lot of course, as much as we do have crazy issues happening, I've never heard of this, that people get to subject their lives, go out in the forest and get to capture wild animals. It is, of course, super crazy. Let me take a look at what you have to say regarding that story, because they say it is passed on from generation to generation. That is one thing. So if I can't even use myself as an example, let me just get back and see what you have to say on the of course on the Black Fire family. And I'm seeing that Asha Walker said Amani Familia. Okay, sorry, Amani Calmie. Amani Tutu at Asha Walker. Thank you so much for joining me here. And at Elias Mani has gone ahead to say free market of wild animals. Yes, it is crazy. And a majority of these animals get to be abducted, get to go out, of course, get to be taken out in the streets, and they get to earn a paper, for these individuals, because they say it is the tough economic times in Nigeria that has really pushed them, and I cannot, say no more regarding that, because as we have it, Nigeria is amongst the part of the African countries that is highly densely populated. So for individuals, to go out there and find a livelihood for themselves, it's super crazy. But I believe if this thing has been going on from time to time, that the government, I think it is time that the government, has to come in and, come in and help these individuals. If it is about capturing wild animals, then they need to come up with a strategy that will not harm human beings or so. And just to also read your feedback here is that I see at of course the God King Dorel is shocked. I'm also shocked. Is gonna say them. Yeah, I'm also shocked with that story, because I'm like, it is really super crazy. And that's why they say whenever you get back to your home, whenever you get a decent sleep and so on, you need to be thankful, because that is basically explains how crazy out here it is. And all right, the God King All right, it's done. It's done, I believe. Yeah, I just wanted you to take a look at what was really going on in Nigeria, and I see at all right. Let me read what Ilyas Mani has to say. He's saying that Buhari turned it into a hellhole with poor economics. Thank you so much for that, Ilyas Mani. That is absolutely correct. Because right now, let's take a look at Africa in general. We've been having issues of, money laundering. We've been having issues of Western countries coming into Africa and taking away our resources. That is part of what is highly contributing to some individuals, risking their lives out there. And also we have issues of puppet leaders. And I don't know if the Nigerian government really takes to take a look, that is, really takes a look at some of these documentaries and comes up with a solution. But what I can tell is that a majority of these African leaders, they really don't care of what is happening in Nigeria. So it's super crazy. That is a part of what is happening in Nigeria regarding the hyena men in Nigeria. If you have never heard about the hyena men in Nigeria, then I believe it is time you get to spread the gospel out there, because it's super crazy. But it is, according to me, something that I believe needs to be really controlled by the government. Because take a look at this. How many gangs will we be having in Nigeria going out in the forest, of course, abducting them? Because we'll definitely be having issues of the wildlife in Nigeria being at risk and so on. That is a part of what will be affecting the economy. And also to emphasize more on that is that we also do have the same issues of animal rearing in Ethiopia, whereby we have one guy by the name Yusuf. Actually, according to Yusuf in Ethiopia, he will rather open his homestead, and welcome the hyenas to come in and so on. And according to them, of course, according to Yusuf, you'll get to feed these animals and let them go away. As to him, he wants to get them to do theatrics and so on, but let them go away, because he believes that these animals, they get to chase away the evil spirits. And of course, the evil spirits in Ethiopia, they are known as the jinn. And this is just to say that different individuals out here have different African beliefs. They have different, of course, ways of life here in Africa, and you cannot blame them, because if for example, the people in Harar, they believe that when you get to rear a hyena, or when you get to give food to a hyena, you are basically introducing a wise individual in your family. Crazy. Because I believe a majority of us all grew up with these African, stories saying that hyenas were the foolish animals in the society. Seems all these traditional stories are changing, because in Harar, they believe that hyenas are supernatural animals. They believe that the hyenas get, the hyenas, of course, get away to, of course, chase away the jinns in Ethiopia. Crazy. And of course, it has even led to a point whereby they have now law. They have now made law, of course, doorways in Ethiopia, whereby you get to allow the hyenas to come in as they please and get out as they please. Crazy. I don't know how many of you will want to rear this. I've seen tutorials. I've seen people on YouTube, on Gram, flexing regarding rearing wild animals, but it is basically super crazy. I see at Ilyas Maria said they gotta leave those animals alone. Absolutely, I can concur with you on that, because we really don't know the extreme as to which these animals get to be subjected for them to cope and get to interact with the normal human beings. Let me know, of course, your views regarding all that, and that is about Nigeria. That is a part of the economic activity arousing. Remember, here on Black Hot Fire Network, we get to talk about, of course, the economies of different African countries, but I really wasn't ready regarding Nigeria. And also in other news, if I got to talk about the state of Africa right now, in other news is that There's this disturbing story. All right, I see. There's this disturbing story that I got to see. I don't know how many of you would wake up your child at 4 a.m., at 3 a.m. in the morning, just to prepare them to go to school. And all this, it is because of traffic. All this, it is because you want to take them to a prestigious school. Maybe perhaps you as a parent, perhaps you as a parent, when you relocated to a different neighborhood, you are not well off money-wise and so on. And seems like with time you get to get yourself together. But other parents, that those goals that you do have in life, that those goals that you want your children to live, there's just that school that when you see a child going to that school, you feel like you have achieved it as a parent. And nowadays in Africa, you get to see that the school that a child is taken into, of course, explains the weight of the pocket of the parents. And the disturbing story is that here in Africa is that children are being woken up as early as 3 a.m., as early as 4 a.m. to be prepared to go to school. Now, this is a child probably 3 years of age, 4 years of age, to up to 8 years of age. They are going to school all the way to school sleepy. We all know children with watching and so on. They are going to school sleepy, sleeping on the bus. They reach in school. Some of them, they cannot concentrate in class because they are still super tired. Let me know about this. How many of you get to subject your children into that? Or do you think this act needs to be done? I don't know about your country, but here in Africa, it is an issue. And I even got to see a story whereby a young child, probably, 6 years old, he was 6 years old, whereby the mother would drop him in the stage and leave him alone there to wait for his own school bus. We have the issues of security here in Africa, and the security from time to time. We've had issues of women being raped. We've had even issues of men being raped here in Africa at the wee hours of the morning. And now you as a parent, you have dedicated your life, to ensuring that your child, of course, goes to a prestigious school. Of course, I cannot blame you because you really want whatever you receive as a child to be, you want your child to receive way much better than what you received as a child. And all the issue comes with the security, the safetyness of that child. We've had issues here in Africa. Nigeria, of course, as a leading country, whereby children are even abducted on their way to school, and now the family is forced, to give ransom. Crazy. Let me take a look at what you have to say. I see at BOB Rewards Club has gone ahead to say that, hello, I don't even get notification for the channel anymore. I think we'll get to take a look at that at BOB Rewards, but thank you for raising that concern. And that Elias Money has gone ahead to say that Nigeria needs a revolution for economic benefits. Absolutely. We've all heard from the documentary that who benefits in Nigeria? It is the government and, of course, the military. And the military, all know that in Africa, the military action, countries that are topping up 90% of the military, it is Western countries that have set, of course, their bases in Africa. And they're just basically part of, allegedly, of course, it is part of the agendas that have been sent, that they have been sent by their government, of course, to lure and loot as much as they can from Africa. And now they are even subjecting their own, of course, civilians into danger and damage. I see at General Mosquito said, I'm enjoying the show at Calmie. Thank you for that at General Mosquito. Of course, to the Blackwood Fire family, feel free to interact. Feel free to give your feedback regarding that. And I was just talking about this idea. Remember, today it is on a Tuesday, and this is definitely the Calmie African Diary Show only on the Blackwood Fire Network. And remember, this is the Blackwood Fire Network media for the 21st century, whereby you can take a look at our website on Black Fire Network. You can get to make donations to support the network. You can also get to take a look at different news, because we talk about matters trending. We talk about issues affecting us as Africans. And as much as we want to talk about building the economy, as much as we want to talk about, making sure that the African economy is going forward, that the African economy is growing, there is a lot of challenges that are affecting us. And here it is. Part of this is we as human beings, of course, putting our lives in danger. And I've given you a real life example in Nigeria. But as get on to, of course, give your views regarding that story, we are talking about the issue whereby here in Africa, as much as we want to support education, as much as we have actually in Africa, Kenya, we actually got to embrace the new curriculum system, from the 844 system to the 246 system, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, something like that. And concerns have been on the rise at the time of at the time that children get to wake up and go to school. Because if I have a child and at 4 a.m. in the morning, I am waking this child, preparing them to go to school. It's crazy. Irrespective of how prestigious the school is irrespective of how I want to be viewed by the society, me as a parent, I believe this is definitely too much. This is definitely too much. We end up, having the kids sleeping in class. We end up having the kids being disturbed, because we know the tendency of kids, staying up almost all night, getting to enjoy the different shows and so on. That is the craziness. Let me know about that. How is it in your country? In your country, do you get, to wake up kids as early as 4 a.m., as early as 4:30 in the a.m. in the morning, of course, to get to prepare them to school and go to school? And you as a parent, how sure do you ensure that the safetyness of your kid is guaranteed? Because I've given you an example of a young boy at the age of 6. They walk a kilometer of about 1 kilometer to the stage where the bus will get to pick him up to school, and the mother or the guardian, of course, dropping him there, will leave him there and walk back to the house to go sleep, because definitely that is time to sleep, and leave this kid alone to wait for the school bus. As much as in Africa we have this tendency whereby African parents, they want to shape us, they want to make us stay strong and bold in the society. It is super crazy, because we are of course the ones that are being affected out here. Because if I am a parent and I'm subjecting my child to something like that, then I should be prepared for whatever the worst that it is to come. And let me take a look at the lecture, at what you have to say. And Ilyas Mani said, that's true, Calmie. Africa does have security issues. That is absolutely correct. As much as I love Africa, as much as I wouldn't, as much as I am tired with all the negativity, shared on social media regarding Africa, enough is enough. Our leaders need to do a lot. Security issues is on the rise, and security issues start with the education that our children are going through. Start with even the type of economic activity that some individuals will get to put themselves into to put food on the table. And do you even get to understand how crazy these things can be? Because you getting, I'm not judging them, but you're getting to hunt wildlife, you're getting to tame wildlife, you're getting to interact with wildlife. The type of I love cleanness, and I can tell from the video that there's no cleanness going there. So also that contributes to the spread of even diseases around, of course, Nigeria. And saying that Nigeria has a population of over 14 million individuals, and the majority of them are languishing in poverty. And that's why we do have a lot of scammers. We cannot blame the Nigerians. We have to blame the government. The government, Buhari, is really not doing something to ensure that the welfare of the Nigerians is being catered. Buhari is not offering jobs and so on. Buhari just making Nigeria as tough as possible as he can. And this is just because of some of the way that African leaders have come around with their own interests. They want to, get the best. They want to look the best. They want to get more people for their family. They want to ensure that their generation is covered at the masses of the individuals. And I see at Christine Williams, at Ilyas Mani, first of all, is went ahead to say that I hear stories of abductions. I believe that is in regard of how early the students, that is the children, are left to go to schools. And even here in Kenya, let me use Kenya as an example. There's this story in Homa Bay County. Homa Bay County happens to come from Kisumu. If you have heard about Kisumu County, whereby the famous Lake Victoria is in the country, we've had cases of school girls. You are in high school, and that is the time you want, to wake up early, go out there and get to, finish your assignment, or get to be the early bird. They say in the early bird gets to catch, a lot of worms and so on. But you find that some of these young, of course, school-going girls, they get issues. They get to undergo issues like we have in Africa huge mode of transport too, apart from road, of course. And road, when I'm talking about road, I'm talking about motorcycles, I'm talking about bicycles. We have these motorcycle riders. They are known for their tendency of actually getting to lure school-going girls into carrying them for free to school. Remember, these are individuals coming from either poverty-stricken home, or individuals, of course, coming from parents who on a day-to-day basis, not all the days it's green and so on. So at times they have to hustle their way, walk that 2 kilometers, walk that 3 kilometers to school. And we find that for matatu riders, they'll get to lure these girls and at times take them to the nearby plantations, because in Homa Bay, they get to reside, they get to, the economic activity is fishing. If it's not fishing, it's also sugarcane plantations, and at times they get to do maize. And some of these girls are lured into these plantations, and that is it for them. That is the end of them. And you get to find that innocent souls out here are being messed. So my question is, do you think that these African governments, and I'm really waiting for the feedback regarding your country, do you guys get to wake up your kids as early as 4 p.m. to prepare them to go to school, and for them just to get knowledge and so on? But also, do you think that this is a system that really needs to be shifted, because to be looked into, because a lot of girls are losing their innocence out here? We've had even cases of young boys being abducted, and it's just crazy out here. And let me take a look at this. And of course, I was just reading a comment at Iles Money went ahead to say that I hear stories of abduction. That is absolutely correct. From time to time, we've had young, of course, kids being abducted, and you as a parent, failure to, of course, come up with that amount of money that is required of you, then you'll end up finding some of the body parts, sadly enough, some of the body parts of your kids in either a maize plantation, in either a sugarcane plantation. And this is just because you are not able to come up with the money. And we want education. We want education for the next generation, because we don't want the next generation struggling. We don't want the next generation, of course, having issues from time to time because of we as the problem. And I believe it is upon the African government, to come up with security lights, because on many parts here in Africa, especially the rural areas in Africa, I found that some parts are really not well lit with and so on. So you find that or if there is a project regarding that, you find that the government is really not doing much regarding that. And that's why when you have dark spots around, that's when we'll have the issues of abductions and so on. And let me see at Christine Williams, she's going to have to say, yes, we tend to have your weather here. All right. I see you at Christine Williams. Thank you for that. And that I think that is regarding at Keith. Keith is in Houston. Hi, Keith. How is Houston? And definitely, you got to. All right, Keith said, "Man, it is a sunny day here in Houston, Texas, not chilly." That is from Keith. He said it is a sunny day in Houston, Texas, not chilly. I believe that is the weather pattern maybe given to you, something like that. All right, that is from Keith. And Christine Williams has, of course, gone ahead to say that it is the yo-yo weather, right? And regarding the same weather in Houston, it is really nice today, though. Wow. That is from Keith. Here in Kenya, just to add up on the weather, we had, it was very sunny in the morning, but of course, very sunny in the morning. So when I came about, I was just, all freestyle and so on, until my flu reminded me that you don't need no flu in that. It just turns out that I'm just so allergic with this cold weather. But it seems like it is about to rain, of course, here in Nairobi a few minutes from now, because it's really cloudy out here. And all right, I see that Elias Mania is going ahead to say that kids need at least 8 to 9 hours at rest. Absolutely. And I don't know these issues of, there's also, that's part of pressure from the society that parents want to be seen that they have money, that they have made it in life, that they have taken their kids to prestigious schools and so on. So you find that for a child to go to that prestigious school, they have to sacrifice their sleep, because you find that the rent for houses near these prestigious schools, it's absolutely crazy. And some parents would rather live in an affordable house than rather go live near these prestigious schools, so that they get to pay double, of course, rent. And you find that also, one thing, let me tell you one thing here in Africa, is that I find that for a kid in kindergarten, you find that in these prestigious schools, you find that they get to spend even 50,000 Kenyan shilling. That is close to 50,000 Kenyan shilling, 500 of course dollars. That is in kindergarten, and that is crazy money. Some individuals will get to even spend $100 in kindergarten, and they're out here wondering, like, what am I really doing with my life? So that is a part of the craziness. But I think, as much as parents, you want to subject your kids to a brighter future, you want to subject your kids to, getting this new education system and so on, you really need to consider their rest as a child. And thank you, Elias Mani, for saying that kids need to rest at least 8 to 9 hours a day. And let me just get to read at what Keith is saying. Keith is saying, actually, I'm talking with a Kenyan guy here in Houston. A small word. He asked me, do I know where Kenya is? Ooh, Keith, he has no idea that you know Kenya just like the back of your hand. Tell him he just know a lot of places. Anyway, at Elias Mani has gone ahead to say that school from K to 12 at 8 or 9 a.m. All right, I think from K you mean kindergarten and so on. Exactly. But you find that in African countries, and I'm taking Kenya as an example, that children really get to go through a hell of a time when they get to wake up and prepare, for their morning classes. And here, like a fine wool, thank you so much for joining us here. And she's going ahead to say that hello, my beautiful. All right. Thank you so much for that. Here, like fine wool. Feel free, of course, to interact on the Blackwood Fire Network page. I really do appreciate you. And I see at Nish Penda has also joined us here. Nish Penda, Amani sana at Nish Penda, and karibu sana at Blackwood Fire Network kwa hichi kipindi cha Calmie African Diary Show. Just saying that this, of course, program of the Calmie African Diary Show, I believe your teacher told you that kipindi is basically a session or a program. So at Nish Penda, karibu sana katika kipindi hichi cha Calmie African Diary Show. Of course, nashukuru sana kwa wewe kuniunga katika kipindi hichi. It's just saying that I really appreciate that Nish Penda for joining me here on the Calmie African Diary Show. Exactly, that is what I say. And I see Nisha, Keith Newsom, you're in Newsom, all right. All right, and let me just continue with the feedback that the family has to say regarding this story that I've shared with you. Remember, this is the Calmie African Diary Show, and we've talked about the hyena men in Nigeria, and you basically, of course, gave out your reason, because Nigeria right now turns out to be crazy, and that's why we are having a majority of Nigerians, going. They say that nowhere in the world you get to miss a Nigerian, and I cannot blame them. It's super crazy in their country. And I see at Elias Mane is going to say that sex and the human trafficking are turning them into slaves. Exactly, some of these young children have undergone that. Because I'm also even wondering, there's this story of the pedophile organization whereby a lot of kids were taken, in the case that they were saying that they were going to help them for a brighter future. But we got to see that they were taken to this pedophile organization. So you as a parent, maybe you're out there leaving your kid, like you want them to be strong and courageous. You're out there leaving them for them to wait for the bus, and boom, they're being wooed. You know, as a kid, you get to be wooed by either toys or snacks and so on, and you're already at their mercy. And at the God King Dorella, we have a rat in the other chat. All right, I believe it's regarding your comments being taken down. All right, that is all right. Let me read that. Tanish Penda's gone ahead to say that yes, they spend all kinds of money to make your kid an empty head. Exactly. And you know, some of this new curriculum system, as much as the African government has embraced them, we find that some of these kids, you know, they are taught the system that gets to, you know, affect the whites and so on. That is the British system, basically. And we are forgetting that is the African system, whereby if I am going early in the morning in the school, okay, I'm not saying that it has to be, but there's just some moral that we get to learn. I find that most of my parents, they did used to step down to school, actually running all the way to school, carrying a bag or a sack of maize and the beans and so on. I think education back then, as much as it was crazy, you get to have bullies. Bullies are still also in this new, of course, era, but it was just super crazy. Anyway, we are almost coming to the end of the show, and remember, we have the next show, that is the African Today show, coming up a few minutes from now. But before I get to end up the show, I really do appreciate this fact that you get to join me on the of course Calmie African Diary show, and I believe that it is the role of the government to ensure that the sleep of the kids is not affected, and also their safetyness also matters, and also the issues with getting to light up different centers in the organization. That is basically what will prove, of course, the safetyness of the kids. Yes, kid, it is super crazy. $500 for a kid who is in kindergarten in these prestigious schools. That's just for them to get to receive the education system that our that the colonial leaders get to instill on the African leaders. Because, you know, the issues with Africans not appreciating themselves and thinking that education from the West is the best, and individuals will spend even $500, $1,000 for a kid, and you're spending $1,000, and you have not even included shopping, pocket money for that kid, certain activities they get. Of course, they get to tour, of course, around Africa and so on. But for what? If anything, you're not promoting the African culture. If anything, you're just continuing with whatever the white master, in quotes, of course, did bring to us. But anyway, it's just super crazy. And thank you so much at Kit Newsom for joining me on the Calmie African Diary show. At Nish Penda, much big salute. At Elias Mani, you've gone ahead to say great show, Calmie. Thank you for that. Much peace and love to you too. And the God King Darrell, I really do appreciate you, of course, joining me here at the Hair Like a Fine Wool. Much big salute. Christine Williams, of course, I really do appreciate everyone. General Mosquito, salute to you, the general. And BOB Rewards Club, I just hope that, of course, not that I hope, of course, we are going to work on that. I really don't understand why you're not getting notifications on channels anymore, but we are working on that as soon as possible, and as soon as possible, I mean right now. And Asha Walker, much peace to you, and thank you so much for joining me here on the Calmie Diary show. Haki Sankoff, of course, I'm not going to forget about you. Absolutely, we have to come to the end of the show, because we are having the next show coming up right next to you. That is the African Today show, and of course, there is a lot of juicy things going to take place there. But before I come to the end of the show, I was your host, Calmie, and this has been the Calmie African Diary show. I hope you've learned something about Africa. I hope you've taken a look at how crazy Africa is, and I just do hope for a better day in Africa, because if this continues and we are just on, this is just the 2020. Oh my, I don't want to believe how 2030 is gonna be. I just don't want to see how crazy that is. But of course, we are coming to the end of the show, and I'll leave you with a few did you knows. And I see it's Elias Mani is gonna say that in Uganda it is a little cheaper for higher level schools. Right, that is thank you for that feedback. But in Kenya it's super crazy, especially if this, the parents wanting to prove to their peers that they have made it in life and so on, and then, of course, putting their children in the British system of education, what do you expect? Your money still will be exhausted from you, and not that your kid is learning something superior. Let your kid interact with other kids in the neighborhood. Let your kids really know how to survive it is in the family, how to survive it is in the streets. And Keith, I see that you're saying that let's see how good Calmie Swahili is in Tanzania. I'm telling you, in Africa, as much as we embrace the Swahili and so on, in Tanzania, their Swahili is different. In Mombasa, their Swahili in Mombasa, Kenya, their Swahili different. Different parts of the country, their Swahili different, but they say it is worth trying. I'll get, of course, to bond with them. Of course, I'm super excited about that. And all right. I'm not going to read what you just said. And all right. I don't want to be strangled here. And yes, I need to practice a lot. I want to speak it exactly. Swahili really means that I've told you the issue that in Tanzania, the Tanzania government and the South African government have really, of course, done their best to unite the two countries. Anyway, away from that, much big up and shout out to everyone who joined me here on the Calmie African Diary Show. We get to interact on the show, that is the next show, that is African Today Show. And let me leave you with this. Did you know that an ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain? Whoa. We've all seen the ostrich. We've all seen the ostrich egg. And for them to say that the ostrich's eye is bigger than its brain, we need to really think about that. And also, did you know that lemons contain a lot of sugar than strawberries? Crazy, because we've all tasted strawberries, and if you tasted lemon, you'd be like, I hate lemons, they're so bitter and so on. But facts on the ground is that lemons, they do have a lot of sugar than strawberry. Much peace and love to the Black Fire family. Kwaheri, tutaonana baadaye on the next episode. That is episode on the next episode, that is on the next show on the African Today Show. Till then, keep it locked and don't definitely touch that dial. This is the Black Hot Fan family, and I've been, of course, your host, Calmie, Black Hot Fire Network Media for the 21st century. Much peace and love.
Firenetwork.com.
Welcome to the Calmie African Diary Show, only on Black Hot Fire Network.
La la la